Hey, Candy here. So today I want to talk about this one specific thing that you must make peace with if you're going to have a beautiful, loving relationship. Now that thing is vulnerability. It's extremely vulnerable it's extremely vulnerable to show up in a relationship and to allow yourself to be seen, allow yourself to be received, and also leaning into the fact that you're investing your heart and your time and your energy into building a relationship with absolutely zero guarantee that it's going to work out, that it's going to last as long as you want it to. And that's a deeply vulnerable place, especially if you've been through, difficult relationships before. And, I remember very early on in my relationship with Craig, I said to him, I was like, aren't you terrified? Because I was freaking terrified, I was so afraid of being fully seen. That I manifested a whole face of acne just 6 months into our relationship, because I was desperately trying to create this mask or this barrier between really letting somebody in and really allowing myself to receive love, to be seen and accepted for who I really was. And I remember when I said to him, I was like, aren't you terrified? And he says to me, no. And I was just like, how? How can I get some of that? And, I remember him saying, it's such a cliche, but it's better to have loved and lost than it is to have never loved. And that was coming from a beautiful man who had never been in a long-term relationship. So for him, he was so grateful and just excited for this budding new relationship to be growing. And I felt a little guilty because I was so scared that I was constantly like, slow down, can we just, part of me was like keeping him at arm's length because I was just so afraid of being hurt again. And so if you're in a relationship and you really want to create a deeply connected and beautiful relationship, you have to make peace with the fact that you're going to be at your edge of vulnerability. There's times where you're going to want to hold them at arm's length, or to push them out, or to shut down. But to notice when your heart wants to close, that is the time where you need to lean in and open. And even if it's like, oh, this is really difficult. Sorry, it's making my pretty double chin. When your heart most wants to close, that's the time where you need to lean in and open and do the opposite of what your instinct is to do. Because, our instinct is to close and to protect ourselves. But what your relationship is really requiring is for you to open and to be vulnerable and to share how you're feeling, share that part of yourself that is afraid. And when you are open and honest with how you're feeling and where you're at, it allows them, to see you for where you were at, to understand where you're at, and it creates an opportunity for them to show up for you in that space and to bring that sense of reassurance, and also when you're vulnerable about how you're feeling and honest about where you're at, it actually builds and strengthens the relationship, because both people can fully express who they are, where they're at, and for that to be received and understood, and to be seen. And once you're seen in that place, you no longer need to protect yourself. It's such a catch-22. Like every time that I said to Craig in the beginning, I'm scared, can we slow down, or, I need a bit of time. And we created a bit of a dialogue around it. And I said, I'm going to use the term, I'm going to recalibrate at this level. So, you know, when we went on our first date, I was like, okay, I need to calibrate to this. And then when he came over to my house for the first time, I was like, okay, I just need to calibrate to this. And so having that dialogue allowed him to understand where I was at. It allowed me to speak up for what I needed, for what would make me feel safe, and opening up more, and allowing myself to be, allowing it to be okay with where I was at, and to make peace with my process. And that actually really created a real depth and strength in our relationship from very, very early on in the relationship. So I invite you to just notice, where are you closing off? Where are you holding back? Maybe you're feeling a bit vulnerable and you're noticing that desire to close. And yeah, how can you flip that and choose instead to be vulnerable, instead to be open, and instead to receive love, and to be okay, and to make peace with the fact that there are no guarantees, and that is the beauty of it. You're just in it for the ride. You're in it for the experience. You're in it for the journey of being in relationship with another person, and allowing yourself to fully be seen, and allowing yourself to receive. And I know that is not easy. Alright, I am sending you loads of love, and I will see you again soon. Namaste.